What is a platform business, and should you try becoming one? You hear people talking about platforms all the time, and sometimes it's actually a little bit hard to figure out what they talk about. But there's one very well-defined concept, and that is the concept of a platform business. Today we'll look into what a platform business is. We'll look into how it is different from more traditional businesses, and we also address the question of whether every organization should try to become a platform business. We'll do this by looking at examples of real-world businesses. We'll use a more traditional business like BMW, a car company. We'll use Apple as one example, and we also use Airbnb as an example. Let's jump right in. A traditional business is one that is focused around products, and the business idea, of course, is to have products that are actually something that consumers want. And if you manage to have those products that consumers want, then you can sell them to consumers. And in order to make them, you need to have suppliers that give you whatever you need to make those products. And that's how most organizations traditionally tend to work. They have a supply chain in the back that gives them everything and every part and every ingredient that they need to create their products. And this means that essentially then what the business owns, what the business is it owns the means of production. That's the core of the organization, is that it produces those things that then consumers want to have. If we look at an example, in this case, let's look at BMW. They make vehicles, cars, and motorcycles. And the main business of BMW is to make sure that they can build cars and motorcycles that consumers want. In order to do that, they need to make sure that they have supply chain management in place. And if everything works well, they can create those products and sell them to consumers. Now, the one big problem with this model to some extent is that if you want to scale this, if your vehicles, for example, are extremely successful and you need to produce more, scaling this becomes tricky because you need to scale everything. You need to scale the whole supply chain, and that can be really hard if some of these things maybe cannot as easily be scaled as some other things. So this is a traditional business. Now let's look into what a pure platform business looks like. A platform business is mostly around the platform, unsurprisingly. But what does that mean? So what it means is that you still have consumers who want to consume whatever it is that you're producing and you make available on your platform. But the big difference is you are not really producing what consumers are consuming. You are just the platform, and the producers are outside of your organization. You're just providing the platform. And the big difference here really is when you look at this model that now the business is not so much about owning the means of production, because that is something that the producers do, but it is mostly something that centers around owning the means of connection. It connects the consumers to the producers and thereby establishes this platform where they can start interchanging things. A very typical example of such a platform business is Airbnb. Airbnb is not in the business of providing accommodations, but it provides a platform that allows people who have houses and apartments to find other people who are looking for houses and apartments. And because this can be scaled worldwide, the one big attractive part and the reason why sometimes these businesses are valued so highly is that this can be scaled pretty nicely. Because in the end, if you need to, or if you want to find more rooms, you don't need to build rooms, you don't need to build hotels or condominiums or houses. You just, which also can be hard of course, but you just need to find new producers who are willing to, for example, rent out their houses. This means that a platform business has a very different economy of scale from your traditional business. And this is what sometimes makes it so interesting, because it scales much nicer. And if you are successful, which of course can be a big if, but if you're successful, you can grow much more quickly than a traditional business. But in most cases, organizations and businesses are not pure platforms. In many cases, what we see nowadays, and we see more and more, and what I want to advocate for, is kind of a hybrid model. Let's look at how this looks like. In a hybrid model, you are a business and you do both. You have a product and you also have a platform. You have consumers who are interested in your product, but who also are interested in consuming your platform, because you not only have the product that you build in the traditional way with suppliers in place that allow you to build and deliver products, but you also have producers in place who are adding value to your product by this platform aspect of your product that allows your product to harness, so to speak, this development power and this innovation power that all these external producers can give to your product. A great example for this is Apple. Apple's iPhone is, of course, a product. It's the phone that you buy, and Apple produces this phone. It's a very demanding product in terms of really building them, right? Supply chain management is a big challenge. It's a complex product. And that's a big part of the iPhone success, is that the iPhone itself is a very nicely built phone. But it's not just that. The other thing is that with the App Store, Apple now also has this wonderful ecosystem of developers, millions of developers worldwide who are developing apps for the iPhone. And Apple is not really doing that. Apple is providing the platform. They take a share, thereby, on the one hand, monetizing it for themselves, but also still making it attractive for producers to program apps and make available on the iPhone. And this kind of hybrid model, in my mind, is what we will see more and more, with organizations understanding that, yes, part of their DNA, part of what they do is building products, but it also can be very valuable to think about how can we get others into this? How can we harness the innovation and the creative power of others to contribute to what we do and thereby improve our product and its value to the customers? So when we look at those three models that we looked at, the pure platform, the traditional model, and the hybrid model, when we look at those, right, I would say a key takeaway from this is that on the one hand, platforms are really attractive because they scale very well. And that makes them really attractive because you can achieve a scale that is much harder to achieve for a traditional business. On the other hand, pure platforms are rare. There may be more coming up, but in the end, there still are a lot of organizations and businesses out there who produce things, who are not just pure platforms. But even if you are in the business of producing things, I do think that platforming, like building a platform aspect into your products, like the App Store into the iPhone, can enrich your products, can help you to harness the power of others to increase the value of your product. So thinking about something where you can make your product a little bit more, what I would say, platformy, that can be really interesting, because then you can keep doing what you do and what you're good at, let's say building a specific product, but you can also now start harnessing the power of digitalization and of these marketplaces and platforms so that you can improve your products in ways that in older days would have been really hard to think of. That's it for today. That's all I wanted to talk about. Like, what is a platform business, and does it make sense for everybody to try to be a platform? In my mind, really, it's a really interesting model. I think everybody should read up on what a platform is and how it works. It's a fascinating topic in my mind. But on the other hand, not everybody will become a product. So don't try to become a platform, right? But I think what's more interesting is to try to understand how platforms work and to try to apply that to what you're doing and to try to maybe figure out, can we build some platform aspect into what we're doing, because that will allow us to create value that we just cannot create on our own. Okay, That's it. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. With that, we're done for today. Until next time, keep getting APIs to work. Bye-bye.